Chapter 5, Killdeer Farm on the outskirts of Chokecherry. Lifting the bodies of both buffaloes onto the pontoon was grueling work even with the hoist. Casey thought the weight of the dead mother cow might sink the pontoon, but it stayed afloat. They made the quick journey up the river to Killdeer's farm and unloaded the buffalo calf on the dock, seeing no one else on the river. "Quick, we need to get the calf to my barn so it can check its vitals." Hondo handed Casey a strap. "Trust me, I know. Tie him down on this trailer and put a tarp over the mother on the pontoon. I'll deal with her later. Oh, and you might not see it from this side, but at the far corners of my dock's canopy cover, I have 2 security cameras pointing up and down the river. I'll review them later and see if we can learn who attacked the bison." Casey hooked the strap on the trailer, all the while scanning the area to see if anyone was watching. The sound of construction near the oil drill increased, and he could hear an occasional shout from a worker across the river. A cluster of trees covered the sight line, so only the top of the drill was visible. He watched an airplane take off from Chokecherry International in the distance, but didn't see any other movement. Hondo started up a side-by-side vehicle with the calf on the trailer behind it. Casey secured the strap and ran down the wooden dock to the pontoon. He tucked an oversized plastic tarp around the edges of the mother's body. Heat formed in his chest, a sensation he hadn't felt for a long time. The mother tending to her calf one moment and dead the next. He told himself the whole reason he wanted to be a park ranger was to protect sacred animals like the buffalo. But what good did that do today? Help for the buffalo calf should have been a simple phone call, but bureaucracy overshadowed the Park Service's mission of protecting the land. Casey leaned next to the dead cow's head. "I promise, whoever did this to you is gonna pay." "Let's go!" Hondo called out. "Coming." Casey tucked the last part of the tarp under the mother, then jumped into the side-by-side, his broad shoulders grazing the older man. Hondo shifted into low gear and took off at a slow pace up the riverbank. Casey glanced back to make sure the calf was still in the trailer. They cleared the riverbank and came over the hill. There was a modest blue rambler house on the far side with a dirt driveway leading up to the main road. In the foreground, there were a series of barns and smaller sheds dotting the land, with a smattering of spotted cows grazing in the pasture. Clusters of trees surrounded the outbuildings, framing rows of various crops. Hondo drove down a path toward the large red barn at the center of the property. Casey looked down at his watch. 10:45 a.m. Beekler's gonna kill me. The visitor center had been open for a few hours, and he wondered how many tours that meant for her. They stopped in front of the barn and jumped out of the side-by-side. Casey helped Hondo slide open the enormous barn doors, revealing a deep cavity of animal stalls and equipment. Animals roamed around. Roosters, cats, dogs, horses in stalls, a chicken coop, and he thought he heard the snort of pigs. "I have a makeshift animal clinic inside. We can check on the calf in there." "Are you North Dakota's Dr. Doolittle?" Hondo laughed as he pulled the locking pins that connected the trailer to the side-by-side. "Help me lift the front of this trailer and we can haul the calf in together." Casey grabbed the long silver tongue of the trailer and popped it off the trailer hitch. They swiveled the trailer and pulled it into the center of the barn. The smell of fresh manure mixed with animal odor shocked his nasal cavities. "Right there in the center, pull the trailer up so it's even with the table." Hondo had a long, low metal table positioned in the center of the barn. There was paper stretched across it, like the white paper used on examination tables in doctors' offices. Next to the table was a metal cart with medical tools and bandages. Casey wheeled the trailer to a stop and set the tongue down. "We have 2 choices," Hondo said. "We go back to the pontoon to get the hoist, or we try to lift the calf onto the table ourselves." Casey glanced at his watch and back at Hondo. "You think you can lift the legs?" "Yes, if you take the main weight from the shoulders, I can help guide the lower half. On your count." Sliding up his sleeves, Casey squatted and scooped his arms under the calf's back. Its hair was thick, but he didn't want to pull on it, so he reached further down the body. He was familiar with moving red dog bison, which weighed 30 to 70 pounds. He knew at 1 year old this calf could weigh 300 pounds or more. He waited for Hondo to get back into position. The old man sprang up on the back of the trailer, surprising Casey with his mobility. 1, 2, 3. Casey flexed his biceps and pulled up on the calf. It felt like moving a bookcase full of encyclopedias. They slid the calf onto the table, and Casey exhaled the air he was holding before a blood vessel could pop out of his forehead. "I'm glad you're as strong as you look." Hondo grabbed a metal tool and examined the calf's leg. Casey watched the calf's side rise and fall with his breath, which he took as a good sign. "What do I call you, by the way?" "Casey Clay. I'm a temporary park ranger here this summer." A pig snorted. He looked around and saw several horses peering at him, their heads draped over the stalls. "Casey Clay." Hondo nodded his head. "That's a good name. Where are you from?" From all over. My father is a career national park ranger. I see. Hondo grabbed a medical bandage from the tray and wrapped the calf's leg. Looks like a bullet grazed his leg, the same one he got tangled in those reeds. Lucky we got to him when he did, or he might have bled out like his mother. That's good, but you can't say anything about this too. A phone call interrupted Casey. He fished his phone out and saw it was the number for the park's visitor center. Shit, it's Beekler. He denied the call and put it back in his pocket. Don't worry, I won't say a word. This secret is between you, me, and the calf. His phone rang again. Seriously? You better answer that. He hit accept and held the phone to his ear. Hello? Junior Ranger Clay, where the hell are you? Beekler's voice was stern the first time he'd heard genuine anger from her. It's almost lunchtime and you've disappeared on our busiest day of the year. I've already given 3 tours and I sent a visitor to find you and they didn't see you by the river. Hey, it's okay. I just had something come up. Casey pet the calf's back. I'll be back there in a flash. You better be, and wait till your father hears about this. A horse snickered and Casey tried to cover the phone, but it was too late. Was that a horse I heard? Beekler's voice was hysterical. What in the Sam hell are you up to? Sorry, Beekler, you're breaking up. Bad reception out here. I'll be back soon. Casey pocketed the phone. I have to run, Hondo. You need any help later lifting him again? Hondo finished wrapping the gauze and looked up. The table's low enough and I have a stall I can lead him into when he wakes up. But there are 2 things I'd like you to help me with. First, he reached into his jacket pocket and handed him a folded piece of paper. What's this? Casey opened it and read out loud. Rebel Resources LLC? It's the company name from the side of a truck at that oil drill site across the river. Spotted it through my binoculars. Thought you could do some research on it and see what you can find. I'll also review the security cameras on my dock and see what else I can discover. Casey tucked the paper into his shirt pocket. I'll check it out later. What's the other thing? Hondo's eyes went down to Casey's hand, which was still on top of the calf. I'm going to need you to come back here often, at least twice a day for the foreseeable future. Look, if you need some pointers on how to care for an injured buffalo, I can offer some. But I didn't move him off park grounds to be the one to nurse him back to health. Oh, I saw the way the calf was looking at you when you were feeding it. Hondo had a grin on his face. He thinks you're his mother now. You may be partly right, although it's more complicated than that. Casey stepped away from the calf. But I just can't commit to this right now. Hondo turned serious. How do you know so much about buffalo calves? If I tell you, there's no way I'm getting out of helping. Okay, well, I'll prepare milk and food, but you'll need to feed him, at least until his leg heals. I'll keep him in the back stall and leave the barn doors unlocked. You can come and go when you please. I recommend at least once before and after work, starting tomorrow. Scratching at his beard, Casey looked at the calf and then at the stall in the back of the barn. That's my only option? Hondo shrugged. It's that, or you give Beekler a full report about how you helped me remove the animal featured on your patch from a national park without permission. You deal with the fallout, and we try to get this calf to a veterinarian somewhere who specializes in treating buffalo. There's got to be one around here somewhere, maybe in Montana. I heard there used to be a bison rescue program out in Wyoming, but I think that closed down. Casey sighed. You're right about Wyoming. It was a rescue program at Yellowstone National Park that was my brainchild from start to finish. Hondo's eyes sparkled. It seems you're the absolute best person in the whole universe to help this calf in this moment. Casey threw up his hands in surrender. All right, whatever. I'll help this little guy out, but I also want to figure out who shot him and his mother. He rubbed the calf behind its ear on the way out of the barn. Sleep well, buddy. I guess I'll see you in the morning.